Here he is, Tibbsy.
How we
How you
doing?
doing, pal?
All
All
right.
right.
Yeah,
All
not bad,
good.
mate. You?
Yeah, good. So
Yeah.
I bought a squat rack
Good man.
because I want to do some. I like squatting and I like bench pressing. So I
Yeah.
bought that because I thought it might be time to. Yeah, I don't even know if it's building muscle. I was thinking about it. At 19 stone, and I should be 13 stone, I'm carrying around 6 stone of extra weight. So I must have something underneath.
Yeah, of course. So yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to move, would you? If you didn't have muscles, that's what's moving your joints. So yeah, of course, there's something underneath.
So I thought if I'm burning away the fat, I don't want to be burning away the muscle, or I want to be putting a bit of muscle on while I'm burning the fat. But there's a lot of myths about it, and a lot of people saying that it's not possible and things like that. So I just thought I'd get your views on it, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things. I mean, what I will say is when you're reading up on whether you can do anything, whether it's fat loss, whether it's gaining muscle, whether it's doing both together, or anything outside of them two sort of main subjects, you've got to look at who's selling you the dream, who's selling you them results. So that's one important thing to kind of consider.
There's a lot of snake oil out there, isn't there?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And a lot of these snake oil merchants are basically selling you a healthy diet and a training lifestyle. Which would you get the same results without that magic potion? Probably. But sorry, back to the main point is, yeah, you can gain muscle during a fat loss diet or during a fat loss sort of regime, but it's not necessarily the most optimum. Do you know what I mean? So if you wanted to, if you're showing me a picture of, I don't know, Mr. Olympia, Heath Ledger or something like that, and you're saying, I want to look like this guy, then the worst thing you can do is go on a fat loss diet because, well, you're trying to gain muscle. Well, not the worst thing, but it's not ideal. You want to gain muscle, so you want to be in a calorie surplus, and it goes the way around. It goes both ways. So if you want to gain muscle, you need to get calorie surplus. If you want to lose body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit, and that's kind of the most simplistic answer I can give you.
But does it? I mean, it's not an advantage being fat, but can I, instead of being in a calorific deficit, can I not use my fat stores to use that energy to build the muscle? Does it work like that or not? Because I know if you're lean and you want to build muscle, then you have to put more calories in. If I've already got the calories stored, can I go from those reserves and pull from those reserves?
Right. I mean, right. Okay. So you can do both. Somebody who's new to training. So there's a few people that are going to be able to do both relatively well to begin with. And then when you become more advanced, it's going to become more difficult. So I know this channel is aimed more towards people that are on a fat loss journey. People that are maybe either brand new to exercise or getting back into exercise or, whatever it might be. Generally, we would kind of say the people that are interested in the channel are more beginners.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah.
So can you gain muscle? Can you lose body fat? Newbies, beginners, people dipping a toe back into health and fitness, definitely you can do both. How long that lasts for? People say you call it 6 month newbie gains. So in the first 6 months, your body is so sensitive to whatever you put it through. So your body's going to be more sensitive to, you can gain muscle doing body weight exercises, whereas someone like myself who's trained for like 10 years, can I gain muscle doing body weight squats? Possibly. It's going to be very hard work. It's going to be very difficult. Whereas someone who's complete newbie, yeah, they can. So you can gain muscle and you can lose body fat to a certain point. And I suppose the other people that can do that are people that are coming back from injury or just maybe bringing in a routine. If you've never had a routine before, and then you start doing resistance training in a planned matter, so you're actually doing a program that is set out and phased. Again, you can lose body fat and gain muscle. But again, to what extent and to how optimal that is, you know, it's probably not the best option for anybody unless they are complete newbies.
Okay.
So it's quite it's hard to answer and give like a very definitive sort of.
Well, everybody's different anyway, obviously. But like you said, the people who are going to be interested in this are probably going to be new to it or been away from it for a long time, and they're going to have plenty of excess weight on them.
Yeah.
So there's more chance of them being able to do it than obviously
yeah,
you
they're
being
probably
able
going
to
to do well for a good, I'd say minimum 6 months, maybe up to a year, maybe up to a year. I mean, it obviously depends on where they're starting from. If they are, so if you've been throwing the weights around, not with too much effort, but you've been doing a little bit in the gym, maybe twice a week, just to basically make yourself feel a bit better about yourself, but you've not really got anything from it, you would still be considered a newbie, and you could probably still gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, whilst in a bit of a calorie deficit, because all you're doing now is you're adding structure, you know, and it's probably going to work for you both ways. You're going to lose body fat, gain some muscle. But if you're a complete newbie, then you're probably going to get more towards 12 months of gaining muscle and losing body fat, you know, coherently. So it kind of depends on where you are on that scale. Depends on where you are on that scale.
With the metabolism, if I'm building muscle so with my metabolism, if I'm building muscle, is that going to speed up my metabolism? So I'm going to be burning more calories while I'm building the muscle and while the muscle's repairing itself. So is that going to help with the fat loss?
Right, it definitely will help, yeah. I mean, the more muscle you have, so the more poundage of muscle, each pound of muscle, it burns around about, I think it's 4.5 to 7 calories per hour, there or thereabouts. Now, fat's not obsolete. You know, you need fat for, you know, to keep hormones in balance, and it's still, you know, it's still a working part of the body that we need. That's why if you get to such a low amount of body fat, that we kind of have issues when it comes to testosterone and women, obviously with the menstrual cycle and things like that. So you still need fat, it still has a use, but fat only burns 2 calories per hour. Yeah, so obviously if you've got 100 pounds of muscle, then you're burning up to 700 calories just being sat there and just being buff. But whereas if you've got, you know, 100 calories of fat, you know, it's less than half, isn't it? So
I've also seen something about when you lose weight, your metabolism slows, so it's harder to lose weight. I guess that's a long way down the road for me to worry about.
Yeah, I mean that's going off the equation which I've just told you as well, because obviously the bigger you are, the more body you have to keep alive. Whether it's with fat or whether it's muscle, you're still trying to keep a bigger area alive. So, you know, when it comes to fat, even though it only needs 2 calories per hour, you know, you still need to, you're still fueling it, if you will. Yeah.
So it's advisable, rather than just to lose the weight, is to build a bit of muscle to kind of supplement that weight loss that you're going to lose in metabolism. Adding muscle then will keep your metabolism and burning the same sort of calories. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, so one thing that might make it a bit easier to kind of understand as well. Obviously, when you're trying to lose fat, you've probably seen this number somewhere, the 3,500 mark, 3,500 calories to burn a pound of body fat, thereabouts.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
And when we talk about building muscle, we need to give muscle energy. So that's why I'm saying it's difficult, because you're trying to burn 3,500 calories to burn a minimum of a pound a week. Now, if you want to gain muscle, then really you need to be eating calorie surplus. But that's where that newbie sort of gains comes in, because just doing resistance training and eating enough protein, you're gonna, because your body's so sensitive, like I said at the beginning, you are going to gain some muscle we'll focus on what can help you build muscle whilst losing fat. So what can help you lose muscle? Say you are on that 3,500 calorie deficit. What can help you build, or at the very minimum, maintain muscle, is make sure your diet is complementary. So with that, obviously we know protein, or most of us know protein is a building block for muscle. So we need to make sure that we're getting enough protein in. You know, and generally that wants to be about, on the low end of the spectrum, I'd say 0.5 to 0.75 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Yeah. And then ideally you want to be on at least kind of 1 gram per pound of body weight. You know, so that's one thing that you can kind of put into your diet. Obviously you'd have to be tracking to a point for this. I know not everyone's into tracking the diet or, you know, tracking the calories, but
that's quite an easy one to work out, isn't it? A gram of protein to a pound of weight.
Yeah.
If you know your weight, it's quite easy to track that protein then, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And what I'd recommend with that as well, because it can be quite overfacing, because a lot of the time we don't realise how little protein we eat. So if I said to you, oh yeah, I eat pretty healthy, this is what I get all the time, I eat pretty healthy. I have toast in the morning, I have a bit of a salad at dinner with maybe a packet of crisps, and then I have my tea, which is meat and veg. But then when you break it down and you go, oh, hang on, right, okay, I'm not saying that's a terrible diet. It's not the best, but it's not terrible. Most people think that is a healthy diet. You know, let's throw an apple in a break or whatever, or a banana at supper or whatever. And you go through it and you're like, well, you do realise, you know, this is people that are wanting to lose body fat and tone up, is the 99% of my client base. And I try and explain to them that you're eating 40 grams of protein a day. You know, how are you supposed to tone up? Because tone up is just a gentle way of saying put on some muscle. You know, and it kind of it opens people's eyes. So because people are used to eating such a low amount of protein, what I would say is start on the lower sort of tier, so the 0.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and then see how you do with that. If you start to get some noticeable changes, you know, keep at it until it slows down, and maybe go to 0.75 grams per pound, and, you know, build it up that way. That's always a good way to do it. But obviously, if you're on a fat loss diet, you've got to make sure that you're not adding calorie surplus.
Yeah.
Yeah. If fat loss is still the optimum, still the main goal, met that.
Well, I'm guessing that's why you say it's better to have one goal at a time. You can't come in with, oh, I want to be ripped and I want to lose fat, because you can't build as much muscle, I imagine.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then another thing, sorry, so what we're going to say is, along with the diet being complementary, obviously your training has got to complement your efforts, you know, if you're wanting to put on some muscle. So, and this is where it kind of becomes a bit of a crossroads, because if you're wanting to lose body fat and you're wanting to lose weight, any sort of training you can stick to is going to be the best way of training. Okay, that goes without saying. So if you love running, go running. If you just like walking, go walking. If you want to do weights in the gym, then that's what you do. I mean, the most optimum is probably doing a mixture of resistance training and some cardio and just increasing your daily activity. But if you want to put a bit more effort onto building some muscle whilst you're losing body fat, then what I would say is you need to concentrate on overloading the weights when it comes to resistance training. So basic principles of that are try and lift a bit more weight each time, whether you do that using bigger weights with the same amount of reps, or doing slightly more reps, you know, to kind of create that stimulus and make your muscles adapt. You know, you've got to break them down for them to grow back. And that's the process of building muscle in the most simplest of terms.
I remember when we did our first session a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think you put in something called supersets, I think you called them, where it was weight lifting. It wasn't heavy lifting, but it was moving weights, but you were doing 2 or 3 one after each other, and that was really getting your heart rate up as well. So I don't know if that's a way for me to go. Is that the best place to be, or should I just be lifting heavy?
What I'd recommend doing is for someone who's wanting to lose fat, you want to be working as much as possible. So obviously the sessions we're doing, we're mixing cardio with compound movements. You know, a lot of the weight exercises we're doing, they're not traditional weight exercises, but they're getting you moving into multi-joint positions. You know, you're having to use your ankle joint, your knee joint, your hip joint. You're having to keep your core engaged. So you're engaging a lot more muscle mass, which again means you burn more energy. So that's why we're doing that. So the movements we're doing are more aimed at fat loss, but you're still doing a form of resistance training, which is, as a newbie, it's going to obviously help you gain the muscle. But at the very minimum, it's going to help you maintain the muscle that you do have whilst losing body fat.
Well, like you say, when we're doing the press ups and the squats and everything else, I'm moving quite a lot of weight around there anyway. You know,
exactly,
you don't need a bar and plates on there when you're pushing up 17 stone.
Well, no, and that goes back to what I said at the beginning as well. Is, you know, someone who's more of a beginner, you can gain muscle from doing bodyweight exercise, and it's probably the perfect place to start. You know, someone who's completely new to training, master the basics. You know, when it gets easy to do 50 bodyweight squats, you know, like say 5 lots of 10, that's when you might think, oh, you know what, it's getting a bit too easy. This, I'm going to hold this 10k dumbbell, and I'm going to do 3 lots of 10, and then 2 lots of 10 bodyweight. Do you know what I mean? So what you're doing there is the basic of overloading. You're overloading your muscles through adding the weight, but then you're keeping the volume through doing, you know, let's say you start on 3 sets of 10, then you do 4 sets of 10, then 5 sets of 10. Because obviously over the course of the workout, you're making your body lift X amount more weight, which is making it adapt and making it grow, which will help you build muscle. But because, again, sticking with the compound movements, are going to burn energy, helping you lose fat.
That was the word I was just going to say, and you just said it at the end there, the compound exercises. I guess that they're going to be a lot better with the weights as well, like your squats and your overhead presses and full body movement and things like that.
Exactly, yeah. So presses, pulls, like rows and things like that, squats, lunges when you get a bit more advanced, all these sort of movements which well, you can feel them doing them. You know, if you were just to do a bicep curl, you might feel it in your biceps and it gets a bit burny. But if you did 10 weighted squats, you're getting a bit breathless. You can feel that you're working harder. You know, so you're asking a lot more of your body, and it is tapping into your CV system. It's not just exclusively building muscle.
I think that's where I want to be with it. I think actually getting the cardio going as well as the muscle building. So yeah. I think the compound exercise is definitely the way to go when I'm doing this. I mean, I love doing our sessions with you, a lot of the bodyweight stuff, and the cardio at the end with the boxing and thing wipes me out, which is exactly what I like. But I do like moving some weight around as well. It's manly, isn't it?
No, it is. And you can still make it quite intense, you know. Like you mentioned, we were doing the supersets where we do back-to-back exercises, or trisets where we're doing 3, or, you know, we can even do a giant set or a circuit, whatever it might be. I mean, my go-to for fat loss when I'm trying to lose body fat is I do something called, I mean, we're getting a bit advanced here, but you can do this in a basic, with basic exercise as well. But I like picking, say, 3 to 5 exercises. I'll have a set amount of reps. I pick weights which I know I can do easily 10 to 12 reps with, but I'll do 6 reps. And what I do is I put a timer on for 15 minutes and just keep going around this circuit for like 15 minutes. And I'll do 2 lots of that. And then if I want to do some, you know, everyone wants to look good in a t-shirt. So if I want to do some bicep curls at the end, some tricep push downs, they're complementary in there at the end after I've done what is my priority at the time, working towards a fat loss. You know, so there's always a way where you can get a bit of everything in there, but the key word is it's not optimal for building muscle, but it's not going to stop you building muscle. It's just not optimal. That's
okay.
It's as simple as that, really. You know, I mean, if I had a fat loss priority sort of checklist, a few things that I'd say is just make sure your goals are orientated around that number one goal. There's no point in having a weight training session which is just full of, shoulder raises, bicep curls, and a couple of sit-ups, because yes, it's working the muscles and you are gonna burn energy, but that's something that a bodybuilder wants to concentrate on, to fine tune and sculpt himself. That's not something that you want to do if you're doing fat loss. I'd say include plenty of compound resistance training exercises, whether they be body weight, whether you're using a barbell, machine. You can pick compound machines if you're a beginner and you don't feel comfortable holding a weight or doing things like deadlifts. Do the leg press, do a seated shoulder press, things like that. I'd say stick to full body training. Do 3 or 4 workouts a week where you're working the whole body. Don't be messing around doing chest day, back day, leg day. That's, again, the people that generally take extra sports supplements or they're just super advanced. And it's generally just increase your total daily energy expenditure. I know you do a lot of research, so you might have seen the abbreviation TDEE when you're trying to work out calories. No, so TDEE is your total daily energy expenditure, and it's, if you do go into tracking your calories, it's something that the higher the TDEE, the more calories you're kind of allowing yourself while still losing body fat. So I know it sounds like it's not going to do much, but parking your car further away from the supermarket, not taking the lift, and all these little things, walking to the shop rather than jumping in the car again, just
well, I've got my little, I do all my filming down in the shed at the bottom of the garden. And for the last 2 weeks, whenever I go up to the house, I just do a little jog up to the house rather than a little walk. And I just feel like I've got more energy. Like when I go to the supermarket, instead of taking the lift, I jog up the stairs and things like that. And it all adds up, doesn't it?
It does, because, you've got to think of, our last workout, it lasted for an hour, so it was the longest workout. But that's 1 hour out of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's literally a dint. You know what I mean? Even though you might feel that you're getting absolutely, slaughtered in that 1 hour, it is a very tiny part of the day. So it's just keeping active, as much as possible, really. Whether it is just one walk a day that you're adding in, or doing all them little things that we say, the taking the stairs, parking further away from the entrance to the supermarket, and just.
Well, from this week, I'm definitely going to try and crank up the exercise and get a lot more in than I have been doing. I've been focusing mainly on the diet, and I've been losing quite a lot on the diet. My calorie deficit has been quite high. I guess for my weight, I worked out that I was probably doing about 3,000 calories a day, and I'm probably down under 1,500, which is quite a drop.
Yeah.
Is that still going to be maintainable if I'm doing exercise, or should I be eating a bit more now?
You've kind of got to play that by how you feel. I would not recommend staying so low for such a long time. Obviously having a bit more weight to lose, you probably can sustain it longer than, if I were going to cut my calories a half and still kind of carry on training, I'm really going to start to struggle. You know what I mean? And I'm going to, rather than feeling better, I'm going to start just feeling tired. My testosterone will start to feel like it's depleting, and especially being over 30, and all them little things I just struggle to stick with that for so long. Whereas what you can do is maybe stick with what you're at for now. Maybe add a couple of 100 calories when you start increasing your activity. See how you feel on that. If you start to feel drained, you feel like you're not recovering, your sex drive is getting low because your testosterone's going, and all them sort of things. They're all telltale signs that you probably need to add a few more calories. Then you might do it again. Add another 200. You might hit the sweet spot. You might carry on losing weight and feel, amazing. So that's kind of on how you feel as well.
Right. All right, pal. Well, I've done half an hour there. I think I've taken up plenty of your time.
Yeah, sorry, it's me again, isn't it? I go a bit.
No, it's
a bit in
definitely
and out.
me. I'll keep you as long as I can keep you, but I don't want to. I don't want to take the piss with it. So thanks very much. All right, pal.
All right, mate. Yeah, nice
Cheers,
one.
Anthony. Thanks a lot,
Cheers,
mate.